Today, we cover a tragic story from Des Allemands involving a young woman whose life was cut short in a horrific manner. Let's dive into the details of this heartbreaking case.
8 a.m. Father's Day. A call comes into 911 from a desolate stretch of road on the edge of town.
New Orleans police.
I was calling to report a suspicious vehicle on the side of that road. It's off on the grass.
Anyone inside the vehicle?
It's got dark windows. As I was passing, it was hard to see.
Okay, I'll get someone out to check the vehicle.
Okay.
Police respond and find a burned-out vehicle on the side of the road. Inside the trunk, they find a woman's burned body.
9-year-old is now without a mother. Police say someone killed her, stuffed her in the trunk of a car, and set it on fire.
And now the mother of Lindsay Nichols here wants answers. WDSU reporter Casey Ferran spoke to her about the family's unspeakable grief in a story that you will see only on 6.
So she just moved in.
Jolene Dufresne says she helped her daughter Lindsay Nichols move into her new home in Des Allemands Friday.
Lindsay just got her trailer about a month ago. We moved all her furniture in. It just came in last week.
Saturday, the 31-year-old went out with friends in New Orleans. However, when they were ready to go home, Nichols decided to stay longer.
She wouldn't say where she was going, but she said she was going somewhere after, but she didn't really say where. And some of them had got texts and calls from her up until like 4 in the morning.
Dufresne says on Sunday her daughter never called to wish her stepdad Happy Father's Day.
And I never heard from her till about 3 in the afternoon. I said, that's really odd. So I started calling her phone, and they wasn't going through. And so I got a little nervous.
Then she saw pictures of her daughter's burned car on the internet. She soon got word that police found her daughter's body burned in the trunk of her car. The coroner says Nichols died from gunshot wounds.
This is what I can't get past, is the fact that she was murdered. It's just unfathomable. It's just, it doesn't happen to people, you know, it's not supposed to. It's like something that you don't think is going to happen to you, you know, it's like something you see on TV. It's not real.
The reality now is 9-year-old Peter Rose Jr. will grow up without his mother after she spent an evening in a city the two loved to visit together.
Sometimes when we went to New Orleans, we go to stores and stuff, and she'd let me pick something out.
Nichols' parents are left to care for their grandson while still seeking justice for his mother's killer.
Whoever did it needs to be behind bars.
The story begins with a young woman named Lindsay Nichols, a 31-year-old single mother. Nichols had spent the night out with friends at a club in New Orleans East. Little did she know it would be her last night alive. By morning, Lindsay was discovered dead in the trunk of her car, which had been set on fire. Her body had undergone severe trauma, multiple gunshot wounds, strangulation, and physical battery. Investigators believe this was a personal crime committed by someone who knew her. According to her family, Lindsay was in the prime of her life and a loving mother to her son. Her mother expressed her pain, saying it was unfair that her daughter's life was taken in such a violent manner, and they still don't know why it happened. Upon investigating Lindsay's murder, detectives accessed her phone records and found a chilling 911 call she made on the night of her death. The call revealed a desperate plea for help. Lindsay was screaming for her life as sounds of physical violence echoed in the background. A man demanded she open her mouth so he could put a gun inside.
Hurry up! Hurry up! He has my keys. Put the gun down and give me my keys.
Despite her desperate cries, the 911 dispatcher did not immediately send help. It took 8 minutes before a police officer was dispatched. By then, it was too late. The killer had already taken Lindsay away. Lindsay had just returned from a job in Texas and was celebrating the night before. She was last seen leaving a nightclub on Downman Road around 4 a.m. after apparently meeting a man named Thayon Samson and exchanging phone numbers. Detectives traced Nichols' phone records and discovered she had made several calls to a number belonging to Thayon Samson. Samson, an exotic dancer known as Bonafide or Bone, had met Nichols at a bar a few months prior to her murder. Phone records show Nichols called Samson twice and then placed a desperate 911 call around 4:45 a.m. She told the dispatcher that an irate man she'd met that night was standing outside her car, aiming a gun at her. The dispatcher noted hearing a man instructing Nichols to open her mouth so he could put a gun in it. Unfortunately, the dispatcher failed to relay this critical information to the police, a decision that may have cost Lindsay her life. The dispatcher has since resigned over the incident. Also that night, Lindsay ended up in the parking lot outside Samson's apartment. There, Samson accused her of sharing his address with someone else. Witnesses say Samson and his friend, Troy Varnado, demanded Lindsay engage in sexual activity, which she refused. The two men then beat her up and killed her.
They have captured the man who killed a mother. 30-year-old Thayon Samson was booked with one count of second-degree murder yesterday. 31-year-old Lindsay Nichols' body was found in the trunk of her burned car June 21st at the corner of Lake Forest and Michoud Boulevards. The coroner determined Nichols died of a gunshot wound. Samson is being held on a $2.5 million bond.
As part of the investigation, Samson was brought in for questioning, where he revealed he was at home with his girlfriend and friend, Troy Varnado. He acknowledged talking with Lindsay at the club, but claimed he then returned to his apartment and did not go anywhere else. The detectives later on found that evidence collected in the car, which was a pair of bloody shorts, gym socks, and a white shirt, had matched an outfit that Samson had worn and shared on social media. They were able to secure an arrest warrant for Samson. Later on, the evidence linked Samson to the murder. Samson pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including manslaughter and solicitation for murder. He accepted a plea deal that resulted in a 40-year prison sentence. Meanwhile, Varnado was found guilty of second-degree murder and received a life sentence. Nichols' murder was a complex case that involved two suspects, Thayon Samson and Troy Varnado Jr. Samson was arrested soon after the murder, and Varnado followed shortly after. The trial was unbearable for Lindsay's mom, who believes Varnado may have been her daughter's killer, while Samson played the role of accomplice.
We begin with breaking news. A suspect who fatally shot a young mother before setting her body and car on fire pleaded guilty in court this morning. That suspect pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The crime happened back in 2015. Duke Carter is live from the criminal courthouse with more details on the case. Duke?
Good afternoon, Sheba. Yes, 33-year-old Thayon Samson pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. As you mentioned, he was charged with second-degree murder, but he pled guilty to manslaughter, guilty of second-degree kidnapping, obstruction of justice, and solicitation for murder in connection with the death of 31-year-old Lindsay Nichols. Now, Samson pretty much avoided a scheduled September 10th trial for second-degree murder, which might have gotten him a lifetime prison sentence. And, of course, this is, again, in connection with the death of Lindsay Nichols. Now, criminal district judge Robin Pittman sentenced Samson to the maximum of 40 years in state prison without probation, parole, or a suspension of that sentence. Samson was also sentenced to 20 years with the Department of Corrections for the solicitation of murder for Lindsay Nichols. Now, again, this goes back to the summer of 2015. Samson at that time was charged with second-degree murder in connection with the death of 31-year-old Lindsay Nichols. Her body was found inside the trunk of a car that was set on fire in New Orleans East back in June of 2015. And the coroner said Nichols died of multiple gunshot wounds. 31-year-old Lindsay Nichols' body was found inside the trunk of a car that was set on fire in New Orleans East back in June of 2015. And the coroner said Nichols died of multiple gunshot wounds. 31-year-old Lindsay Nichols' body was found inside the trunk of a car that was set on fire in New Orleans East back in June of 2015. And the coroner said Nichols died of multiple gunshot wounds.
What struck Lindsay's mom the most was Varnado's lack of remorse during the trial. Instead of expressing sorrow for her daughter's death, he stated his sympathy for the family but suggested the police find the real killer, implying he wasn't responsible. This case is a heartbreaking reminder of the consequences of ignoring desperate cries for help. Nichols' life was taken too soon, leaving behind a child and a community in mourning.
The outpouring of support, tremendous for Lindsay Nichols. The tribute fitting right here on the steps of our old high school here in Waterloo, brought out previous teachers and friends. Heartfelt goodbye. For a daughter, a classmate, a friend.
We played volleyball together. She was always really happy.
Lindsay Nichols gunned down Wednesday night at a home in Jessup. 24 hours after her murder, those who knew her at Waterloo East High School joined together in candlelight vigil.
The fact that she touched that many people, even if they only knew her just from school, that 4 years after graduating still are willing to come here and to help remember her. Her life got taken too soon, She was an awesome person. She was a loving person. She was a great friend, and that this was just a really selfish act.
This tragic case leaves many questions unanswered. Lindsay's family and loved ones continue to seek justice for her untimely and senseless death. The defense chose not to cross-examine Samson. Varnado, on the other hand, continued to claim his innocence, arguing that his rights were violated. Despite his claims, evidence showed his phone pinged off several towers near the crime scene the morning of the murder. Dufresne wants to send an important message about safety. She emphasizes the need for young people to stick together when they go out and not trust too easily. She believes that some young adults think they are invincible, trusting too many people without realizing the potential dangers around them. This story is a sobering reminder of the importance of staying safe and vigilant, especially when in unfamiliar environments. Always keep an eye out for one another and trust your instincts. This case marks the end of a long and painful journey for the family of Lindsay Nichols. Although justice has been served with the conviction of Samson and Varnado for her murder, no verdict can bring back the life that was tragically lost. The trial and subsequent conviction serve as a reminder of the enduring pursuit of justice and the tireless efforts of law enforcement and the legal system to hold perpetrators accountable. As we conclude our coverage, let us take a moment to reflect on the importance of community safety and vigilance, and to remember the loved ones left behind by such senseless violence. Our thoughts go out to Lindsay Nichols' family and friends during this difficult time. May they find solace in the knowledge that justice has been served and that her memory will be cherished. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit that like button and comment if you like.